Hello, hello, Gutsy Women. Welcome to this beautiful Wednesday, whatever time of the day it is in your world. Welcome. I have the privilege and honor of interviewing today Lisa Lambert. Thank you, Lisa, for coming on.
Thank you for
And
having me, Dee.
you're welcome. I'm so looking forward to this conversation. And so, Lisa, I just want to thank you for being a valuable member of the Gutsy Women Collective. And thank you for all your contributions and your engagement in the group. It's been wonderful getting to know you. So, can you tell people a little bit more about who you are, where you are, what you do, and what's the story behind what you do? There's got to be a story behind why natural healing and the mind body connection is so important to you.
Sure. I live in North Carolina here in the States, and I was introduced to a company called Young Living about 8 years ago. So before that, I've had quite a journey with health issues, and I'll be 50 this year. So I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, which is a low thyroid. You can have hyper, which is, the opposite. So my thyroid wasn't making enough hormone um, to function properly. So around 16 years old, I was diagnosed with that. And it was a lot of years of going back and forth to doctors. I was misdiagnosed a lot of times. It was pretty much like they were just trying to figure it out as we were going along. So I was put on meds, of course, that's the first thing they want to do. And I got so sick from it. And, being 16, previous, before that, I was never on any medication. So, I don't know if it was just my body trying to adjust, and that's what they were saying, but it wasn't getting better. I tried it for a while. So they said, okay, go off your meds, and we'll see how you do. So it was back and forth, and, biopsies. And because I had a nodule in my neck that was protruding. And so down the road, I went to another thyroid doctor, and she wanted to do the iodine ablation, which is a type of radiation they use to try to shrink the nodule. And, it shrunk it, but, um, had I known about the holistic lifestyle previously, I never would have done the ablation. I would have did things more naturally and more holistically, because I feel like the side effects from that, and this was probably 10 plus years ago, I still have really wet eyes all the time. I don't know if it's just a coincidence, but when you have radiation like that in your body, I don't think it just goes away right away. So, um, trying to give you the short version basically of all the years of my health struggles, but it was horrible, because for me, I just felt defeated, like no one was listening, the doctors weren't listening. They assume they know how you feel. We know how we feel. We know our bodies, we know what we're going through. They don't. And I think you're only lucky sometimes if you have a doctor that really listens and really wants to try to help you. Um, there are good doctors out there, but there's a lot of bad ones too, unfortunately, and they just want to push the medicine. So when I moved to North Carolina, I acquired another thyroid doctor, because the medicine just wasn't. I was managing, but it wasn't solving anything. So um, from that point, and a little bit before that, when I moved here, I was doing holistic things. And when I went to this new thyroid doctor, she said, "You're only on a half a 25 microgram of the thyroid medicine." I said, that's what they started me on. That's what I've been on for years. And she said, well, we'll do blood work, see where you're at. So I did the blood work. She said, your numbers are really, really good. She goes, I don't think you need to be on this. Well, I was like, okay, that's fine with me. So she monitored me for a while. She was just keeping track of the numbers for about a year or so, and they were always good. And she's like, I don't think you need to be on this. I said, okay. So I was able to get off my thyroid medicine finally. I've been off of it for quite a while now, probably close to 2 years now, and haven't had any issues, thankfully. So when I got when my friend introduced me to Young Living, I was introduced to just this whole great, wonderful, holistic world. And my mission was to help people that felt like they didn't need help. They couldn't find help. No one was listening to them. They didn't know where to go. Um, so I don't want people to suffer like I had to all those years, because there are options. There are things people can try to manage their conditions. And that's what made me get so involved in this. And because when you see results yourself, it's not to say, oh, this is going to work for everybody, but there's so many different things to do for a lot of things. And I feel like, there's hope out there. There's hope out there for people that may feel like there's not. And that's why I do what I do. I don't want people to suffer needlessly. There's no reason for it. So that's why I started this journey. And when you have your own personal wins and your aha moments, you want to share it with everybody. And I have helped people over the years. And I basically show people how to use the oils, so they can live above the wellness line. They can help themselves. They can manage what they're going through, even if it's just emotional. There's something for everybody. So it's just a wonderful community too. I love being part of Young Living. It's just a wonderful, wonderful community.
And I think as well, when you've been through such a long journey as yourself, it's it's a joy to actually find something that actually works for you, rather than just trying. And the thing that you touched on was that there's more than one way to actually work with symptoms that you've got. And those symptoms, quite often, as I'm now, you're working in the natural healing world, you're going to hear that the symptoms are your body speaking to you, saying, we're not trying to kill you, we're not trying to make you sick. This is us telling you that you need to strike a balance somewhere within your
Right.
within your daily life, with what you're eating. You need to take more of, you need more of this mineral, this vitamin, this kind of, and so when we get into that way, the world opens up. And I know it did for me. Is that what you found, that the kind of the world of healing opened up in front of your eyes?
Absolutely. And I do a lot of herbs and stuff too, besides just the products that Young Living offers. And you learn a lot from people, especially people that had been through a lot of stuff or going through maybe the similar things that we're going through. And you just, it's the aha moments that I call them. It's like, okay, I'm going to try this, see how I feel. And you're like, why didn't I do this sooner? But you're right. We need to listen to our bodies. And, I think a lot of people, sometimes we miss the little hints that our body gives us. Like, hey, maybe you need to lay off the sugar, or hey, maybe you need to stop drinking these juices and, they're not so good for you, just
Mm.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
and, a lot of things I make my own. I try to stay away from processed stuff. And, it's like I do eat things every once in a while that I probably shouldn't, but, we're only human. So, but I have, my diet has changed dramatically and you feel better too. I mean, you do notice a difference. So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
always say I'm a work in progress.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all? We're all a work in progress. Nobody's got the magic bullet for everyone. We've got the
Right.
magic bullet for ourselves, and all we can do is make suggestions and see what works for other people once we have a full picture of the person that is standing in front of us. And so
Right.
we're just unique organisms, and what works for one won't necessarily work for somebody else in the exact same way, because
Right.
like you say, we're all unique, and our bodies will respond uniquely.
Mhm.
Because as well, it's good that people have something physical to actually physically do when they're healing,
Mhm.
as well as working on what is the psychological and the emotional component to what your body's showing you. Because as we know now, the evidence is out there that stress and anxiety create a lot of the physical symptoms that we hold in our body. We've just got to remember a time when we were nervous to go for an interview, and what did our neck and shoulders do? What did our belly do? How many
Right.
times were we in the bathroom that morning because it went straight to the gut and we were nervous or whatever. So
Right. Right.
these are just the small examples of how the mind affects the body that we
Mhm.
all recognize. So how
Right.
how much deeper does it go if we look into it, and what
Absolutely.
did you notice about your mindset when you were going through that thyroid journey? What did you notice that may well have been impacting that?
Um, it was a lot of just no energy. There was no energy, and being a young person, I mean, 16 years old, you should have enough energy to get through your day.
Mm.
um, and for me, it was a struggle. Sleeping was always an issue. Um, it was just, and my skin was really bad for a lot of years. Um, I still have the scars, today, but my skin is not like how it used to look. Um, there's a lot of different things, and it was, a lot of, not that I really cared what other people think, but when you're a young person and you're going through a lot of changes, in high school and all this, and it was so hard. It was so hard emotionally. And I just tried to deal with it. A lot of it, I just kind of masked, the way I was feeling. I mean, I confided in my mom and, my sister, but it's hard to be in a society where there's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of, assumptions. And it's like you don't always know what a person's going through. So, yeah, for me, a lot of years it was just a battle with that on top of trying to deal with what I thought the doctors were helping me with. Um, it was just a lot of years of, you know, not so great emotions, but I'm pretty much a happy-go-lucky person. At least I think I am. So a lot of it I just tried to hide and just get through it in my own way, just so I didn't want to be one of those people that were on anxiety medications and, all this stuff. So I just, and I had a good family unit too. I think that's important when you have people that support you or understand or at least listen to you. That makes a big difference too.
Yeah, definitely it does. I think that it's that internal dialogue that we have going on when we're not well, of, is this going to be my life? How long is it going to be before I'm well? All of that, those thoughts and that conversation that we have with our bodies and with ourselves around, you know, as a young girl, what kind of conversations were you having with yourself when it was at its worst?
It was probably more questions I was asking myself than conversations. Because I would a lot of times just kind of, if I was by myself, I would sit there and say, "Why am I going through this?" Like, and I'm very in touch with my spiritual side too. So, well, my religion. So, I just always said to myself, well, God has a plan. God knows why I'm going through this. And I think that helped too. But it was a lot more questions, I think, than, I mean, I would have my private conversations with Jesus. And, I just felt like, you know, he's going to get me through this. He's going to get me through this. So every time I questioned things, I would just kind of think to myself, well, there's got to be a reason. So I feel like the reason I went through what I went through is because a lot of people have that problem. And some of them don't even know they have that problem, with the thyroid. And it's not something I think a lot of doctors check right away either. But that little gland controls so much of our body system. So if that's off, we're going to have other things going on too. So, you know, I just felt like this was, maybe my calling to try to help people. So I think over the years, I was just kind of led to this point.
Yeah.
Mm.
So Lisa, what would you say to somebody now after everything that you've been through around their health, the level of control that they have over their own health and their own bodies? What words of wisdom could you give before we end this short interview today?
I probably would say what I tell everyone I talk to. Listen to your body's warning signals. I mean, a lot of times they can be subtle, a lot of times they can be not so subtle. But we have to listen to ourselves and, pay attention to how we're feeling. Because sometimes, you know, I think it can give us a real indication of, okay, maybe I need to check into this. Maybe I need to look into this. So I would just say, try to keep yourself as well as you can naturally and holistically. And, sometimes we need intervention, even if we're trying to do all the healthy things. So, but there's always someone out there to help and listen. And, that's the best advice I can give people.
Thank you, Lisa, for sharing your story today. It's it shines a light on what many women probably in the group are going through in their own different ways. Yours was thyroid, it could be something completely different for other women in the group. But
Right.
it's a story that many will be navigating for themselves with whatever chronic health condition that they're actually working with at the moment. And there is hope out there, isn't there, with natural healing and actually working with the body rather than against the body. So thank you so much for that's the message I got from you, is to work with the body rather than against the body.
Right. Thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been lovely speaking to you, finding out a little bit more. And if anyone out there is suffering with thyroid issues, then Lisa is the person. She's in the group. If you're in the group and you've got thyroid issues, maybe have a chat with Lisa, find out what anything more that helped her and what she did about it. I'm sure she'd be more than happy to connect and have a chat with you. And we will see you very soon, Lisa, in the group, no doubt.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm just going to
Have
end
a
the
good
live.
day.
Thank you.
Okay,
Just end the live stream.
bye-bye.
Just stay here. Just stay there. 2 minutes.
Okay.